Tonight on To The Point.
It's just virtually impossible for a single income to make it anywhere here.
Northern Californians living on the edge, making too much income to qualify for assistance but not enough to pay the bills. A local congressman says more than 100 cluster mailbox units have been damaged or stolen in Sacramento County, what he wants the Postal Service to do. And just weeks into the school year, a Stockton teacher is under fire over a racial slur. This is To The Point. I'm Becca Habiger. Alex Bell is on assignment. You or someone you know is likely living on the edge right now. What do I mean by that? Many people are struggling to make ends meet. They work full-time jobs, making too much money to qualify for low-income assistance programs, but not enough money to pay all the bills. Tonight, you'll hear from those people and one lawmaker trying to help.
Come on in.
Hi! Kim Crosby and her 8-year-old pup, Izzy, live in this 2-bedroom, 1,150 square foot home she rents for $2,250 per month in Fairfield.
Used to a bigger space, moved from a 3-bedroom, 2-bath home in Vacaville because the owners wanted to sell the house, found this place here in Fairfield.
That was 2 years ago, in the middle of the pandemic and a hot housing market. She downsized and is paying more. Her monthly rent jumped $450, just enough to put her in a bind.
I am gainfully employed. I make a good wage, a decent wage, but I'm unable to pay the PG&E bill.
The state put a freeze on service disconnections for much of the pandemic, so Crosby, who works full-time, says she opted to pay rent instead of her gas and electric bill, and now owes more than $4,000.
It's like you have to be destitute in order to qualify for any of the financial programs or assistance that they have. And I don't qualify. I have a good job. I make a decent wage. I have a good employer, but it's just not enough. It doesn't keep up with the rise in inflation. What am I going to do?
And she's not alone. State data show across California more than 2.8 million energy utility customers were in some kind of past due debt between the start of the pandemic and the close of 2021.
Go get it? Go get your pup.
Over in Vacaville, I met with Carrie Mathis and her puppy Bailey.
Good girl.
She and her 2 kids were renting a home in Crockett, and like in Kim Crosby's situation, the owner decided to sell during the pandemic. So Mathis moved to Vacaville to be closer to her aging parents.
I couldn't find anything. At the time, the rental market was just like everybody was moving to Vacaville and Fairfield and this area. For that same reason, it was supposed to be cheaper. It took forever to find something, but I finally did.
That was a year ago. She's paying $2,500 per month for a small 4-bedroom house for her and her 18-year-old twins on a single income.
I'm not a slacker. I work. I clean people's houses for a living, and that brings in a lot of money. I DoorDash, I Instacart, I work with a caterer, and it just got harder and harder as the year progressed to be able to pay rent, PG&E, water. I was picking okay, which one am I going to pay this month? I think I've just hit a wall.
She says she's behind on PG&E and car payments, among other bills, and she's considering leaving California.
It's just virtually impossible for a single income to make it anywhere here.
That problem is not escaping the notice of state lawmakers.
You have a large segment of the workforce that is sort of stuck, and even those who aren't as stuck are just barely making it and still working really hard to meet the basic thresholds. That is not something that is sustainable.
State Senator Steve Padilla introduced legislation this session that would require the state to create a formula to calculate a real living wage.
This is the means through which we can measure and assess what is required to get housing in California and to live.
Minimum wage, he says, doesn't take all that into account and never has.
When California originally established a minimum wage, for example, at the turn of the 20th century, there was no baseline formula other than to create a proper living, which really wasn't fully defined.
Over the years, California's minimum wage has gone up from 16 cents per hour in 1916 to $15.50 this year.
But there never was an underlying basis for how do you determine what that should be in the very first place. So the bill would have required that formula to be created and decided upon, and it would have required that it be linked to housing costs regionally throughout the state and on an average throughout the entire state.
The bill did not get out of committee this year.
If I have to, I'll introduce 100 bills. I'll introduce it every year.
He says it boils down to this simple principle.
The deal is you work hard and you work honest, and you'll be able to put food on the table, you'll be able to put a roof over your head. That is no longer true. And there is something fundamentally socially inequitable about that, and we're not going to be able to start to address it in meaningful ways if we don't at least start collecting the data.
He says that information could be used to make changes like expanding income eligibility for social safety net programs, the kind Crosby and Mathis don't currently qualify for because, again, they make too much money.
One day at a time. That's all I can do.
She and Crosby are sharing their stories to let others in their situation know they're not alone.
It's not easy, but if I help one person, I'm glad I did it.
I want to go back to Kim's PG&E bill. She owes more than $4,000, but she doesn't qualify for low-income assistance programs like the California Alternate Rates for Energy or CARE program. To qualify for that, the maximum annual income for a one- or two-person household is just under $40,000. Now, Kim and many struggling middle-class people make more than that. PG&E did offer her an extended repayment plan. Now, cost-saving options available to everyone regardless of income include a home energy checkup quiz where you can see where you can conserve energy in your home, rebates for smart energy-saving appliances and thermostats, budget billing, which is an option I use and like. It averages out your monthly payments so you can better budget for your energy bills. We have more information on these and more at abc10.com/tothepoint. And finally, I want to thank Kim and Carrie for sharing their stories with us. It's not an easy thing to do. If you have any ideas or feel moved to help these ladies, please reach out to me and the To The Point team. Now, in other news, the search is on for this man, Mark Randall. He is wanted following the disappearance of his former partner, a woman named Erica Brown. Fairfield police believe the woman is no longer alive. She was reported missing to police on August 25th. Police say Mark Randall lived with her at the time of her disappearance. They say he has strong ties to Fairfield and Vallejo. If you see him, call 911. Should a violent sexual predator be released in Placer County as a transient? A judge is expected to give us that answer tomorrow. People living in the county and law enforcement leaders have been fighting against the release of William Stevenson for months, as we've been reporting. We will be there tomorrow for the decision. Today, thousands of Sacramento City Unified students started the new school year, a day after a new contract agreement was announced between the district and the teachers union. The deal retroactively boosts pay for all teachers by 10%, with even more for special education teachers and substitutes. It follows years of tension between the district and staff. Last year, a strike canceled classes for more than a week.
This is truly a new leaf that we've turned here in Sacramento City Unified, and I'm hoping we can continue that momentum. I am looking forward to a lot of smiles, both on the faces of our children, but also on the faces of our staff.
The district is now negotiating a new contract with the union for the next 2 academic years. Both sides say they will make reasonable efforts to reach a deal before Thanksgiving. A racial slur written next to a student's photo is prompting calls for a Stockton teacher to be fired. This is just 3 weeks into the school year at Lincoln Unified. Roxanne Elias has the story.
It was certified hate speech, so casually written by a teacher in a position of power.
It was in a classroom at Sierra Middle School in Stockton where students say they stumbled upon a seating chart with the N-word written by a student's picture. We're showing you the picture for transparency, but have blurred it to protect the students and their families.
We're told is the seating chart is where the teacher uses to take her notes, notate points. From my understanding, she might have heard this kid say a form of that word and very casually notated it on her clipboard, but not in the same way he said it, in the form of a racial slur.
The school superintendent tells ABC 10 the use of racial slurs is not allowed or tolerated in our schools. They are investigating the incident but cannot comment further.
Next on To The Point, mail theft. Medications and passports have been stolen. What one local congressman is asking the Postal Service to do.
And we saw highs today in the mid to upper 90s, but a major and dramatic drop in temperature to come. How low these temps will fall.
And this Labor Day weekend, oh boy, prepare for even more traffic on I-80. The red flag warning is over, but we've all seen that hazy sky today. This was the view over Sacramento. All of this smoke is from wildfires near the California-Oregon state line. Carly, there was an air quality in effect for San Joaquin Valley yesterday. I was down there today for an assignment in Ripon. They're still pretty hazy. What are things looking like now?
Yeah, we're still looking at those hazy skies out there, and we'll continue to see them at least through the overnight hours before we start seeing a really nice impact where we're getting this nice cool air coming in. But also, we're starting to see the winds pick up, dispersing all of these pollutants here. We don't see the air quality warning in the Sacramento area north. It has been staying here from really Stockton south through the Central Valley because we'll be looking at high pressure, kind of keeping a lot of the pollutants in place. But this does lift by 11 a.m., so just a little while longer for these areas as that wind pushes through in the overnight hours, dispersing a lot of that pollution. Now, what we're looking at is a low pressure system, the frontal boundary starting to make its way in, and that's also leading some areas of rain along I-5 and much further north and Redding area, Northern California near Shasta. Meanwhile, that high is still in place and it's going to start causing some winds to pick up as well. What we're looking at is up and down I-5. We've been looking at very thick smoke, especially around the Redding areas. Those wildfires burn and bring it down. It's been really running along and parallel I-5, and you see a lot of it really centered there through the Central Valley. Meanwhile, we're still getting the effects of that onshore air starting to clear it out, but we still saw unhealthy for sensitive group air quality today. A lot of that will be pushing out as we start getting into Saturday. Winds 15 to 20 miles per hour. We're going to continue to see that through your Friday as well, and Friday afternoon, but winds really starting to pick up for the high Sierra Friday and Saturday. If you have plans for Labor Day weekend ahead to Tahoe, you are going to be dealing with some of those winds and wind gusts. The clouds roll in, and we're starting to look at spotty areas of showers, especially early Friday morning to about 10 a.m. By the afternoon, some thunderstorm chances. You see a line there from Truckee down toward about Placerville as you start looking at areas along 80 and 50, potential for those thunderstorms. Partly cloudy skies into the weekend, and then as we really get to that 10-day forecast, you can see temperatures that drop significantly for your Friday in the mid-70s, turn to the low 80s Saturday, Sunday, upper 80s on Labor Day. Then we're seeing a pretty steady low 90s for the rest of the weekend into next weekend.
Thank you, Carly. Next on To the Point, mail theft. What one local congressman now wants the Postal Service to do about it. And why you're seeing signs like this around Sacramento. New developments in the Georgia election conspiracy case. Former President Donald Trump has entered a not guilty plea and is waiving his right to appear in person at his arraignment next week. Trump and his 18 co-defendants are scheduled to be arraigned next Wednesday after they were indicted by the Fulton County District Attorney on racketeering and conspiracy charges. This is in connection to their alleged effort to unlawfully overturn Trump's 2020 presidential election loss in Georgia. Legal experts expect Trump's status as a former president and current presidential candidate to complicate efforts to prosecute him.
And this is really unprecedented under the Constitution. And I wouldn't be surprised if something like this goes to the United States Supreme Court even before the trial.
Trump's legal team is also urging the judge in this case to separate Trump's case from other defendants who want a speedy trial. Mail theft is now grabbing the attention of Congress. Sacramento County's Representative Ami Berra just sent a letter to the Postmaster General asking the USPS to consider replacing existing and at-risk cluster mailbox units. Congressman Berra says more than 100 cluster box units have been damaged or stolen throughout Sacramento County. Medications and passports have been among those items lost, and there's even more concern in the North Natomas area as there is no convenient place to pick up mail once a cluster box is broken into.
Immediate solution is, can we create a more convenient location for folks in Natomas and elsewhere to have their mail held so they could go pick up that mail? If somebody does have duplicate keys, it's not just enough to repair the box. You've got to also change the locks out and get new keys out there.
In some cases, homeowners associations are being told to repair and replace the broken units on their own dime. Berra is asking the Postal Service to get ahead of this before the holiday season. USPS tells us they received Berra's letter and will respond directly to the congressman. Young people fresh out of high school might soon have an easier time finding a job. As Devin Truby explains, that's the goal of a new executive order Governor Gavin Newsom signed today.
Construction, culinary arts, just some of the examples of career technical programs in the Washington School District in West Sacramento. Students that graduate can enter the workforce immediately with certifications after touring the program at the West Sacramento Early College Program School. Governor Gavin Newsom says this is the future of the workforce for California.
Imagining their future in a way they never would, except for the commitment that has been made here.
The executive order also breaks down barriers for jobs with the state, and work is already being done. Last year, 169 jobs were reclassified by the state, and it was decided a four-year college degree was no longer needed.
Well over half the job classifications in the state of California don't require a bachelor's degree.
For those that do want to pursue higher education, the new executive order will help increase dual enrollment in high school for college credits. Students on the fast track to graduate high school with anywhere from 30 to 60 transfer credits, some already with an associate's degree.
Some $900 million flow through our 1,000 school districts to support career technical education. California, like most states in the nation, has workforce shortages in just about every single sector. And so this presents the opportunity for us to use our pathway programs to propel our students into that workforce.
Other industries that will be targeted by the new executive order include green energy, healthcare sectors, and all trades.
The executive order requires a master plan to be created by October 1st of next year, along with public progress reports. Now, if you are going somewhere for Labor Day weekend, AAA says the busiest travel time for the holiday is today. According to the TSA, it's been the busiest summer for air travel on record, and the TSA expects to screen more than 14 million passengers over the Labor Day holiday weekend. That's up almost 11% from last year. Still, driving is the preferred method of transportation. Now, if you are heading to the Bay Area, there's going to be even more traffic this weekend. The Carquinez Bridge is undergoing repairs. Our traffic anchor Jordan Tolbert shows us why.
So basically what we're going to be doing in Labor Day is pouring 3 miles of concrete in 2 lanes. It's a 9,000 cubic pour. It's really, really big.
Bart Ney with Caltrans says I-80 is aging and it's a rough ride for commuters. Ney says they'll be detouring about 200,000 vehicles, which he says is just a drop in the bucket in the 20 years the bridge has served the public. Ney estimates 800 million cars have gone across this bridge since it opened.
Up in Sacramento, we'll be taking traffic completely out of the Bay Area and coming down the 5. And then as you come down the 5, you can cut over on Highway 4 or Highway 580.
Another option is to take I-80 all the way down to 37. And a bit of history about this stretch. The westbound side of the Carquinez Bridge is actually called the Alfred Zampa Memorial Bridge, after a Bay Area local and iron worker who fell off of the Golden Gate Bridge on the job and lived.
The Zampa Bridge is turning 20 this year. And it's the only bridge in California that's named after a blue-collar worker, a laborer. So this is the first time we're taking it out of service, and we're taking it out of service on Labor Day. So it's almost like the bridge finally gets to have Labor Day off.
And more traffic woes. If you're heading to North Lake Tahoe or Truckee, Caltrans is warning there could be a 2-hour delay on I-80. Yes, they are fixing damage caused by our winter storms. Work started this week near Tahoe and will move toward Colfax after the Labor Day holiday. In an effort to improve traffic, Caltrans is getting ready to install new highway message boards. You might have seen these around Sacramento. Once installed, they're going to display real-time traffic conditions in full color. They say the older boards have problems with pixels going out and cost more to fix. Next on To The Point, deadly drug overdoses are on the rise. What we can do to help. More than 107,000 people died of an overdose in 2021, and according to the CDC, that number is rising. Today is International Overdose Awareness Day. Events were held across the country to not only educate, but also try to remove the stigma attached to addiction and overdoses. Take it from these 2 moms who lost their sons.
It's an everyone problem, and it's going to take everyone to fix it.
There's still a lot of work to be done to bring people together to fight this together. We did not fit the bill. Everybody was shocked that it was us.
And the fentanyl crisis continues to rip through communities. Fentanyl poisoning is now considered the leading cause of death for adults 18 to 45 years old, surpassing suicide, gun violence, and car accidents. And there is something we can do. Doctors recommend adding Narcan, or the generic naloxone, to our first aid kits. The overdose reversal drug is expected to be available in pharmacies next month, and Kaiser is making it available in their emergency rooms. Of course, we always want to hear what's going on in your community. I've got Instagram and Facebook. Have a good night. Jeopardy's next.
Hey, it's Alex. Just wanted to say thank you so much for watching. I really love hearing from everyone, and I hope that you'll stay in touch. Reach out to me on Facebook at AlexBellTV, or you can email me at tothepoint@abc10.com, or you can even send me a text message at 916-321-3310.